But by the law, there's nowhere to safely consume. So the culture's been a little bit behind. Our dispensaries look like the size of this table, and they're small. It's quick. It's just transactions. There's no vibe, no culture. Like, no one's doing anything after to go meet up at a bar. And that's still the way it is today. It sucks. New York, I always looked at, especially when New York had rec weed, they immediately allowed people to smoke weed wherever they could smoke cigarettes. So of course, New York City is just a cloud of fucking weed. But that was so good. Like, I was smiling ear to ear when my friends, I have a lot of friends that still live in New York, and they told me about how New York smells like a weed factory. And I was so excited because I was like, okay, the culture's going to be built here in New York.
Welcome to Stage One Podcast, from stoop to store, legacy to legal. I'd like to welcome my guests. We got Steve Bates from UrbanXtracts. We got Mike. I don't have your last name yet, from Olio. Mike Leibowitz from Olio, and I'm really excited to have you guys with me. So we're already talking about some really cool shit.
That's for sure. Thanks for having us. You got a beautiful view, cool spot, man.
Thanks, man. Awesome. Fun to be here. So here, Steve, let's talk a little bit about UrbanXtracts first, because we've been carrying your products for a while already in the store. We love it. I've already talked about the A-Train on the other episodes before. It's one of my favorite flowers in the market. I love the Wander Bread, because they're both very hazy to me, and haze is my, that strain. It's like that nostalgic strain. I've been chasing it. So
they're both very New York.
Yeah,
that was the whole idea, was to make them New York and really centric to the region, as opposed to bringing things from other areas that may grow great in those areas, but aren't really, indicative to what we can do in New York. And therefore, you've seen some of the best as far as what the varietals of New York will create.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about that. That has a lot to do with genetics, right? And so having genetics that have already performed well in a region is important, instead of trying to pull genetics from regions that may not have the same type of climate challenges, correct?
Exactly. And we looked at things that grew well in New York, Vermont, Maine, where you have the humidity, you have, a less growing cycle. And in that case, you looked at, what's going to produce, say, an 8-week flowering cycle, and what is going to produce and stay strong. And that's a whole nother thing, not just the humidity, but really being able to take the different weather. And it's a very different climate here than California or a lot of the other areas. But it can grow great weed, and I think we've proven that, and we're doing better all the time as far as dialing in what is great and creating some great genetics. And I think that's a lot of what we're doing. We have our own nursery. We've given clones to farmers. What we created was a whole ecosystem, from the farmers to the partners that we're creating brands with that have chosen us because of what we're doing, to the retail stores that realize, what do your clients want? And, how can we educate them on what are the best products? And that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk to Mike Leibowitz, the founder of Olio, on the quality of products, educating people on products. And as I said, being able to work with the ecosystem, the farmers, where we can say, look, what you've given us to extract may not be the best product for the environment. What if we were to give you clones that we feel are most appropriate for the environment, that we can take back to make for products because of the cultivars, because of what we're able to extract, and because of compliance? And that's even a bigger picture, is being able to grow products that are compliant within the New York realm.
Correct. Absolutely. So, Mike, tell me a little bit about Olio and the brand that and why you chose UrbanXtracts as a partner, and talk about some of the other partners that you're working with in New York as well.
Sure, will do. Thank you. Thanks again for having us here.
Yeah.
I hail from Denver, Colorado. Olio's from what is, I think, renowned now amongst at least the hash community to be the hash capital of the world. We've had a competitive weed environment really since 2012, 2013. And so we noticed when the first kind of saturation hit of the flower market, some of the best cultivators all went towards the hash world. And, we started working with hydrocarbons back in 2016, end of 2015. And then, really the rosin revolution hit, probably about 2018, a couple of years after that. And since then, it's just been a lot of companies in Colorado really building off of each other, seeing, obviously we all follow each other's Instagrams and following the latest genetics to make a really solid rosin product. It's not, it's very different than just finding biomass and extracting it in a lab. It has to be cultivated a certain way. We were very fortunate enough to be introduced to Taro Tokes out in Buffalo that are just really, really cool cultivators with a lot of experience and pride themselves on organic gardening. So we were able to master that. And then down the road, we were able to be introduced to UrbanXtracts, which has far and away the nicest manufacturing facility we've ever seen.
I can agree.
It's unbelievable. I mean, forget just the aesthetics of where you are, in the Hudson and the story behind, the facility and the incredible, engineering and construction job they've done. The inside parts are all brand new. So we were foaming at the mouth as hash makers when we got in there, and we rolled back our sleeves and came in there. And, I don't want to say like surprisingly, but like we were very happily and pleasantly surprised to realize that we could make hash that really, I brought some Colorado hash today. There's not a huge difference from what we've so far smoked and what we've been making for years and years with, indoor, which is obviously much more controlled. So it's really encouraging now that we're here, and we just had our second harvest come down, and I got my nose in the farm yesterday in Buffalo. I'm so excited to see that there's going to really be a nice variety of live rosin, fresh frozen products that we can bring to a state that, really, really appreciates good cannabis, whether it's a new industry or not. We know people in New York know what's up and want to taste good cannabis.
Tastes good. Yeah, absolutely. And the terps in your pens so far that I've tried are really good, and they all definitely have that effect that you're looking for too. So,
well, I think it speaks for itself.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I really appreciate the compliments on the Urban Extracts facility, and we have an amazing history, really going back to Eleanor Roosevelt, and getting the kids out of general population, and we actually in our facility fed all the state hospitals and state prisons, because we were a training facility, and our lab was the old dairy barn with the poultry barn, and we used that to feed. But now we're basically feeding the cannabis market with the best products, and it makes all the difference in the world to be able to have the best products, to have the best partners, and also educate.
So you brought up a really good point, or an interesting point, I should say, Mike, about what happened in Colorado with what there was like an abundance of product, right? And so when we have too much biomass or too much flower in a market that doesn't have enough places to sell it, then what happens? It needs to get turned into oil that'll make it last a little bit longer, right? It extends its shelf life. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I thought you were going to go a different way with that question, so I'll answer where my head was already at in answering that, which is at the end of the day, when you have, you're a retail owner right now, and you're very fortunate because you can obviously call the shots in terms of what you're bringing in. Eventually, your customers are going to call the shots. They're going to tell you that the type of product, the type of brand they want, and Colorado's indicative of that. Whether you're, live well on Native Roots and you got 30 stores each, or you're higher grade, I got 3 stores in Denver, smaller business, we're not really dictating it anymore. Our customers are, they're Coloradans. They know what they want. They've been buying this, what they like for a long time. They try new things, but you see that when a market gets saturated.
Yeah, it gets saturated for sure. Yeah, and so you have to produce what the customers are looking for in a market like this. You got to produce
it's a lot really quality driven, obviously.
In a market like New York, there's so much education that needs to happen. That's right. Because everyone is, most of the consumers are coming from the black market. Even where I was coming from before being a dispensary owner, I thought I knew a lot about weed, but I didn't know anything really. You know what I mean? I learned so much since opening the dispensary that it was like my head has exploded, and I feel like that education needs to be shared with everyone, because why didn't I fucking know that? Why isn't that? But it really is because now that it's legal, you have like universities studying it and doing huge workforce initiatives about trying to fuel the economy in New York with jobs. Cornell's involved, now all of a sudden there's all these studies being done on the genetics and on the minor cannabinoids and the terpenes, and it's not just citizen scientists doing it. it's happening in laboratories, which somehow like now is just telling us what we already knew, right? So as the people who have been involved in cannabis culture already knew all of these things anecdotally or through our own investigations, but now, like, I don't know, the state has legalized it, and now universities are taking that data and publicizing it. So how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I think it's interesting. We had approached SUNY when we started about doing a program, a cooperative internship program, and we actually helped him win a grant for the state. It was a $5 million grant over the next 5 years to help train people to be prepared to work in the cannabis industry. So I think that's a move forward where we as a corporation, as a company that's growing and started in 2018, we had hemp license 001. So it gave us the opportunity.
How cool is that? I've seen it. They literally are
hemp
license
license
001.
That's awesome.
So we were able to organically do this in New York, which New York allowed us to do. It's not like we came in and bought a license for tens of millions of dollars. We actually grew up through that. And being able to do that, we went through 80,000 pounds of hemp extracting with the same equipment, with the same team, learning how to do that. So when cannabis came, if we messed something up, it wouldn't be as costly as messing up a large vat of hemp product. But as we've moved forward, and I think the education really comes down to what is it that kept the prohibition going, and why did we even have that prohibition? And there really wasn't a good reason. It was, like someone said, my God, they lied to us, and look what our parents did to us during that time. Someone was saying, well, my God, my parents found weed and they they couldn't leave the room for the whole summer. And recently, it didn't happen to me, but somebody told me that, and the parents said, son, we want to apologize. We were wrong.
Gotten that yet.
We were wrong. We were lying.
Dude, my first 5 years in this industry, I lied to my mom and told her I was like still in real estate. I was like buying and selling properties for her. And like my mom's like from the school system. I was, I'm from Connecticut. She was a little conservative with it. I mean, just I took me like 6 years and like having like 10 licenses before I was like, all right, Mom, I'm not in real estate.
Mom, I sell weed.
I sell weed.
Mom, I sell weed.
Well, the stigma has changed.
Shocker to you.
It has. But how long ago? Like 10 years ago, you're saying, right? Like how long ago was that?
No, that was probably like, I got in the industry when, 2000. I probably didn't tell her I was actually in the industry full time till like 2014.
Well, right. So that was like 9 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
right. So like 9 years ago, like the things were different.
Well, even then, like someone said, you're going out with someone. Well, what does he do? Oh, well, I can't tell you. Now you say, what's he do? Oh, he's in the cannabis business. Oh, he must be doing well. I'd like to meet him.
Not banking. Not banking yet. Not if you're dating a fucking banker. Well, but now that actually the bankers are lightening up, I got a nice new banker. I think I'm gonna like these guys.
Well, and they're gonna like you too.
You guys are hitting it at just the right time. We've been suffering for 10 years as an industry, but you said you were in Vegas. You heard the horror stories. They're all true. I mean, the Colorado market's gonna do like $700 million less than it did 2 years ago this year. I mean, that's we all built infrastructure to be a much bigger market, and it's been horrible. Hundreds of businesses have gone out, and it's attrition, and it really makes you good at this. If I'm bringing this to New York, you can bet it's time tested, and it's hard. And for us here, having great partners is everything, because we're here, we're bringing a lot of energy and our vibe and our SOPs and our skill, but having the facilities and people that appreciate it and want to.
Let's talk about these partnerships. Like it's not just brands and processors and cultivators and processors and dispensaries and brands. We're all in this shit together, right? So it's like the partnerships have to flow in every direction, and like I want you to be in here talking to my bud tenders and talking to my customers. Awesome. I want you in here talking to my bud tenders, talking to my customers, because you all have so much valuable information to share, and they come from different places, and there's overlap, but like it's just the most information. That's what I'm all about. I want everybody to,
That's so cool.
Well, Josh, that's where it gets to the term that I always use, cooperation. Right. This market is going to be created on cooperation. It's not competition. It's not. all cooperating because we have different brands, you sell different products. It's the cooperation that's really going to build this market, and those relationships and people that understand that.
Well, I agree with that.
Just for creating that here.
Let me because this is like so true. Like what I learned in Colorado, what our biggest mistake was in hindsight that could have saved probably several of the 100 businesses that closed, could have maybe saved half of them, right? From this attrition that's happened. Like we've always viewed each other as competition, all the stores. Like we always just, the hash community sort of come together, but it's still like, everyone views each other very hard versus what I've seen in New York is everyone knows this is a big pie. We're working together. We're going to push each other's products, help each other out. I've been like, coming from Colorado between Urban and our partners in Buffalo, like I am like, kind of just jaw dropped at how kind people are and how much they really care about wanting to assist, for the purpose of all of us working together. And that's so important.
It's funny though, because we are kind about it. We are, but we will also tell people what it is. Like for example, we're not trying to take any flower that has mold over 100,000 CFUs,
awesome.
and
so,
not a lot of other dispensaries are doing that. It's a very personal thing,
and that's what matters.
Right, it matters. But I'm not afraid to tell anybody that. I have my reasons. I wanna, and the thing is that when I tell the story and I tell people about what happened and why I'm not willing to go that route, everybody respects it, and they say, you know what? Thank you, and that's great, and nobody's mad, and we're all on the same team, and that's what it is.
It's about respect.
That
goes back to Bob Marley. The whole thing. It's like, folks, this is about respect.
The industry is going to be
respecting the earth, respecting each other, respecting the plant.
Right.
And that goes. That's a religion almost. It really goes everywhere.
I can tell you from a lot of experience, there are so many battles ahead in New York that you as an industry have, your other dispensary owners, the cultivators, the manufacturers, the testers, anyone who's involved in touching the plant is going to have a lot of challenges ahead. And from regulators to people that really have a lot of money. The wealthiest billionaire in Colorado funds a group called Blue Rising, which is like these angry moms that, to be honest on this, we can be honest on your podcast, right? These 18-year-olds, they're suffering from mental illness, from whatever it is, some sort of probably bipolar disorder, but these moms blame weed, and they're organized, and they have a lot of money, and they've been trying to crush THC percentages, to 15%. We've been fighting. We almost had THC percentages in Colorado 2 years ago put back to 15%. What would that have done to my 70% rosin, dude? I'd be out of business overnight, right? Those battles are real, and they're well funded, and it's gonna, you're gonna see that.
Well, I hope that the education.
I hope New York comes forward and unifies to
I hope
fight
that the education. That's like all goes down to education, because if you were to just like pull them aside and say, hey, like, all right, so if you smoke this 15% weed and you just take a whole joint of it and you smoke the whole joint, and how many hits is that, or whatever, 20 hits, and then you're gonna get that much percentage, THC percentage per hit. And then you take one hit of that, and it's the same as smoking the whole joint. You don't have to smoke the whole joint. It's like so much. It's like there's.
They don't get that. They just hear.
Right. They such a high percentage.
My 16-year-old punches me. Well, it's not because of the weed.
Right.
He just punches you.
It's because you're out here protesting weed.
Well, when
it takes a certain type to fucking do that.
If you would smoke it, he wouldn't punch you anymore.
Right. If you're out here protesting weed, it takes a certain type of motherfucker to do that. That's a real punchable motherfucker.
That's fucking great.
I look at it in a whole different way from personal reasons as well, and knowing that I was diagnosed, and we're talking about adult use and recreational, which by the way, if you can recreate, it's healthy.
Yeah.
But in my case, I had 2 stage 4 cancers, and I was told I was terminal. And yes, I did extracts. I did Rick Simpson oil, and I'm alive, feeling great. And, I want to be able to say, we don't know enough clinically about cannabis and what in there helped. I say, look, it made the chemo more palatable. I mean, when I got done and they said, you realize nobody's ever been diagnosed with what you were diagnosed and walked out alive. I said, yeah, with a smile. But the question really is, what was it that allowed me to survive when the others didn't? Was it because of my attitude and being positive, which definitely helped? And, I never took antidepressants because cannabis has somewhat of a euphoric effect. That's why a lot of people do it. So I was very positive. I ate during my chemo, but the cells went away and they weren't detected. And the question is, was there actually something in the cannabis that helped eliminate those cancer cells?
Yes.
Or did it
Yes.
well, we don't know that.
But that's why-
we
so
can't
that's-
document that right now.
Yes,
That's
we
why
can.
I'm
But
excited.
we said-
That's why I'm
But
excited to
I am
have
here.
things
and,
like
and I want to say, look, cannabis helped save my life.
no
question.
And it's harmed a lot of people because of the prohibition. So when I look at now, I look at historically, we looked at the prohibition on alcohol. In 1934, the relationships that were created with the cultivators, with the distributors, with the manufacturers, with the retail locations, a lot of those relationships still exist, if those companies still exist. New York gave us the ability to do that, where other states that were vertical didn't. So we're able to create these relationships with many different cultivators, ourself also being a cultivator, and the different brands, the Olios, and the other brands. We probably have 12 brands, and every day they're coming to us for good reason, because what we're capable of doing, the way that we've structured ourselves, the level of GMP that we've built in the factory, and I call it a factory because GMP is good manufacturing processes. People may not know that those are the practices. GMP, good manufacturing practices. And we probably came across at the highest level of GMP as they went through the facilities. You've seen the facility. and I'm
beautiful, beautiful
both of you
facilities.
would know
Yeah,
why we came
absolutely,
at the highest
absolutely.
level.
I would definitely trade straight up for Olio, Colorado, for what he has in New York.
Well, a lot of
no
people
flipping
would,
necessary. Straight up.
I mean, and I think that's a really interesting point that what New York has given us the opportunity to do in terms of being able to cultivate these relationships with one another. Like, they didn't start out with distributors. I know distributors are coming right down the pipe, and that's what's happening in other states, and it may streamline our accounting, which I know that my bookkeeper will love, and my CFO would love, right? So I'm not an anti-distributor, but getting in this early has been really cool, because I get to link with I'm here when it gets dropped off, and the owners swing by and they want to be a part of what we're doing, so that's not going to happen forever, I don't think. So maybe it will, but I think when there's 1,000 stores open, it's not going to happen the same way.
I think one of the licenses that we apply for is self-distribution. So if you get a processing license, you can self-distribute.
We plan
But there will be distribution too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure.
But I just think these
they'll muscle
relationships
us
that
out
are
at some
forming
point.
now, I hope to maintain long term, and that
Absolutely.
and they become, you guys become friends as well as business colleagues, and I think that's the getting in this early, in this type of market, that's what's
we
unique.
Exactly right. And if you're not constantly evolving as a cannabis company, whether you're a dispensary brand or a flower brand or concentrate brand, you're not in business anymore. I mean, if you don't have new genetics to drop, new products, or just thinking about it, and I mean, Colorado, it's what have you done lately? And we just launched our all-in-ones. I mean, in Colorado, even we were very environmentally friendly for a long time.
You sold out too.
Yeah.
But in the market that was dropping, you're
Let me ask
selling
you a
out on
question.
new
Now,
products.
speaking of the all-in-ones,
Yeah.
so we've had some issues with certain companies having really good hardware and other companies not having great hardware.
Yeah,
so how was that part of your process, and why it took so long to bring an all-in-one to market, is finding the right hardware?
Well, I own my partners at Olio are two of my best friends at my wedding, so it's just we've always been we're just obviously stoners. We have our own stage one store somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
Feel that shit too, right? A little bit different, but we get in a room and we smoke. I don't know how many different devices, and all of our expert hash makers fought over their opinions, but we settled on the iCrusher. We think it's really good. It rips, and
Cool.
we're stoked on it. So it does a good job of obviously really viscous and works well with our rosin. So it's nice.
And you've had a lot of years of experience.
And
in this market.
these are
It's not new to you guys.
the ceramics, right?
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about that? Nerd out a little bit about the difference in a ceramic cart versus a metal cart versus there's some new technologies on the horizon that's laser vaporization or something. I don't even know. Somebody showed me some shit and I was like, oh, that's crazy. At MJ BizCon, you see all sorts of crazy shit.
So much crazy.
Yeah. So,
and that's what I was kind of alluding to, even from a product side, whether you're in the flower selling side or not. we're always evolving. The industry in the last 2 years has come so far in innovation. The cultivation, I mean, LED lights, we experimented with those for 8 years. They finally hit, and now the diodes are right. And so, like, the new LED light modular is undeniably better than any other light that exists. And, you know, old school Coloradans and Californians will stick to their HPS, and that's how we crush. Or now the double endings, I'm getting 3 per. Why would I switch? But I mean, I don't know. The LEDs are undeniably better, and we can build better environments now. I mean, I hate to admit it as somebody who's been cultivating indoors for a long time, but being able to grow weed and for many years took a certain level of skill and time and dedication. It still does on the back end of it, in the curing, trimming, and processing of it. But in the cultivation end, they've really evened the playing field. If you got a check to write and you can build out thousands of feet with all the bells and whistles.
If you can afford it, you can build a really nice cultivation setup.
But money used to be wasted a lot and didn't always solve those problems. And people would build nice grows only to not understand one small part of it. But now
the information is out there, right? Because we're living in that age of information. If anybody wants to find anything, they could find it. That's why. And whenever my son is asking me to teach him something, I'm like, just fucking go on YouTube. Do you find it? No, I'm kidding. I teach him so much shit. It's crazy, and I love teaching my kids. But no, but then he'll come and show me some shit that I never knew. You know what I mean? And
the Generation Lab.
Yeah, like he went and he's like on YouTube, like for example, he has his YouTube channel. He's got all these subscribers. He monetized it. I've had a YouTube channel for years. I never fucking monetized it. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know. He's like, no, man, you should need 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers. And like, right? He's like, yeah, but that's not for music though. That's for gaming. And this is when he's 12, right? And he's 17 now,
amazing,
but he's like, he's worked towards it and he's killing it and he's teaching. But now he's making music, so I got to teach him how to do a bunch of shit. I'm teaching him how to mix and songwriting stuff. Like I was working on some tracks with him yesterday. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Yeah. But we got to share that knowledge, though, right? So, like, that's why I wanted to have this pod too. But we then ask all these educational questions so that we can share it with the world and let people understand what goes into what we do, because it's not as simple as it used to be. No, right?
No, it's not. Running a weed business in any scope is not easy.
No. I mean, some of us have experience in the black market. That wasn't easy either, but it definitely, this comes with its own
different stress,
different sets of challenges. Now, it's not the government on your back trying to kick your door in, but they will if you don't pay them their money. So
there you go. Yes,
right. Or they feel like regulating you and writing you a $50,000 ticket for
right, and then they want that money too if you don't do something compliantly, and so you better be doing everything compliantly. But then, they tie your hands behind your back and then say, juggle for us. I don't know. We do what we can.
That's right.
What do you fear most, like, happening to the New York market? Like what?
Oversaturation of stores. I think right now there's going to be a rush to get so many open. Because they were talking about 5,000 stores, and I just think that's going to be.
Wait, 5,000?
Yeah, and there's like 1,500 in California. So like, let's just be real, 5,000 stores is too many fucking stores. Right. So that's my fear, that they actually don't get their minds right.
They have the 1,000-foot rule in Manhattan at least, so that's going to be spaced out.
Yeah, there's a 1,000-foot rule everywhere, but 1,000 feet from here ain't shit, though. Right. You know what I mean? Right. There's not foot traffic like Manhattan, so and that's the thing about a lot of their laws, very one size fits all, because it has to be. But New York City is totally different from Rensselaer or Albany, which is totally different from Binghamton, which is totally different from Ithaca. And
Niagara Falls.
New York is exactly very diverse.
Big state.
Right,
very
big
diverse.
state.
You've got the Hamptons, you've got Buffalo, you've got Niagara Falls, you've got Potsdam. I mean, it's very different.
Who could have guessed what would have happened in Long Island? It would happen in Long Island. I think we all could have guessed, but it's crazy. They've got one store right now on Long Island.
Right, that's insane.
In the middle of the island. It's 2 hours in either direction. They see 2,000 fucking people a day.
It's unbelievable.
It's like historic. Right. No one's ever had.
It's probably the highest grossing dispensary in the country.
Ever, probably in the history of the business. Yeah. It's only right that it happens here in New York, but it's like when you hear that's like this folklore shit.
How much time do you think they have?
In 20 years, nobody's gonna believe that shit happened.
Right. But how much time do you think they have before there's 20 stores on Long Island?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, Long Island is like playing crazy ass games with their municipalities. So it's as long as they don't like how a lawsuit takes to like settle something that lets them open, because they have most of the municipalities won't let you open a store within 1,000 feet of a residential. Everything's 1,000 feet away from residential in Long Island.
It has to be light industrial.
Light industrial, and so a lot of it's like behind a garbage dump somewhere. You know what I mean? And there's just not a lot of available real estate in light industrial in Long Island either. So
and Nassau County wouldn't allow it at all.
At all.
So you have to go to Suffolk County.
So totally opted out. So Long Island's got its own set of problems, and then there was the first injunction from Michigan that kept the stores from opening in Brooklyn and Westchester and the Finger Lakes region and Rochester, and all those spots couldn't get stores for the whole first few months, and then that broke, and then the second injunction with the vets didn't let anybody in the whole state get open. So the 27 of us that luckily got to open, it's like that's like again 20 years from now that story is going to be crazy, and the ones some of us are doing really good numbers. And then
what did New York do in November? Is there a number?
I haven't heard it yet, but they'll probably tout it. Sometimes you'll have the bureaucrats talking about how good a job they did despite only having 27 dispensaries open.
I wonder historically
all these cannabis growers showcases, they're such a success.
I wonder in the prohibition of alcohol.
They're not, are they?
I wonder historically with the prohibition of alcohol if there were the superstores that opened up. And by the way, bootlegging didn't go away right away, but there's not a lot of bootlegging now.
Right. No.
So you look at how's that going to play out in this industry?
All the bootleggers, they had their own reality show, and then now they're not bootleggers anymore. They make real moonshine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they used to be bootleggers, and then they got on television.
They legitimized that.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Yep. You had a little stint in reality TV show, didn't you?
I actually started the Vanilla Ice project for DIY and HG. It was my neighbor across the street in Florida, so
that's some small world shit, man. Right? I'm a white rapper as well. Everybody knows me in my town as well. So, but yeah, it's very.
Wish I would have known you then. I had the studio at my house, so every day he'd come over with. Other music stars, had a lot of different musicians.
Well, hey, I know you now, so one of these days I'll come down to Palm Beach, we'll hang out.
That's all right.
Get in the studio.
All right, that's it. You guys make an album right now. Let's get started.
You don't have to go that
drums.
far.
Let's go.
We did put some songs together we never put out. Rob's like, I don't collaborate with anyone else, but yeah, he had
now
his own issues there.
I heard he's doing a tour, right?
Oh, he's been doing a tour. Since we did the show, he's been doing this 90s tour. And literally selling out in the smaller cities, the 12, 15,000 seat arenas. He's actually
go
selling
Vanilla
out.
Ice. He's back.
That's what's up.
He's definitely he's a great guy. He's a very serious and hardworking guy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Went from
had a lot of fun.
I mean, flipping houses is not an easy thing to do. I've done it. My partners do it. So it's a lot of fun though. I love real estate. You do real estate too?
I did. I was a broker in Florida.
You did real estate,
for years.
Mike?
You did real estate. At least you told your mom. You told your mom you were doing it anyway.
It was cleaner than
Well,
cannabis.
cannabis can be real estate. You got the plants in the ground and you pull them out.
Yeah, I was making pretty good money, so it was the first thing that came to mind. I bought a couple properties. I'm doing real estate. What do you think? She never really asked any follow-up questions.
You gotta live somewhere.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining me here on Stage One Podcast. It's been, amazing. You guys had so much wisdom to share, and I really thank you.
I got a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's do a concert at Urban Extracts. We've got all that. We have that correctional facility. We're on pretty much 14 acres, and it's.
You want to do like a festival?
It's secure. It's secure. We're all fenced in, and we can do that.
So yeah, let's do it.
We'll have to plan on something like that.
Let's do it.
Can we call that a grower showcase music festival?
We probably could.
We could make up
with consumption.
With consumption, yes.
Well, that's
what
another thing.
New York consumption
That's another thing about New York, that we're going to be able to have consumption, which doesn't really exist like that anywhere else.
They're going to let you consume it here above your shop?
So here's the thing. They basically, as far as I know, So when we first opened the store, we did just delivery out of the vault, right? We didn't have our shit built out yet. So for the whole month of June, we were building our store. We had that little hallway area locked down because we had already put the walls in and stuff, but we hadn't finished the floors or done any of that stuff yet. And we had all the weed in the vault, and we had a little desk out in the hallway. But in order to get that approved, we didn't even have a bathroom down there yet. In order to get that approved, we had to have compliance come, and compliance came up here, and that's where we had our bathroom. The landlord gave us, right away to use the upstairs apartment's bathroom. So I had to bring compliance up here. So I had these 3 women from compliance, and I said, this is my chance. This is my chance right now. I'm going to tell them what my plan is, and if they poo-poo it, then I can say, all right, I'm not going to waste any fucking time.
Smart.
But if they say, so I said, listen, my plan, I just want to let you know, I run a recording studio. My plan is to open my studio upstairs, separate lease with the landlord, so separate space, separate entrance.
Sure. Yeah.
And I want to be able to have people upstairs consuming. Is that going to be okay? And they were like, there's absolutely nothing that we can do.
Good for you
about
for
it.
asking.
Yeah.
Cool. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Party on, Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. So then I was like, all right. So there is nothing because it's a separate entity. It's a separate lease it's a separate address. There's no laws against consuming inside a private event. So it is what it is. And so as long as the landlord is like, hey, okay, guys, which he is. Then we'll be fine. Beautiful. So, yeah.
And speaking of your vault, have you ever showed that on the podcast? That's a pretty cool vault.
I haven't shown it yet, but we definitely will do the tour of the dispensary for sure because it is a cool.
Reminds you when they went into the Al Capone thing, They're like, it's like the 1940s.
I love it. It's a pretty great find. This building, and the landlord is like. We're actually buying our next building because that is the way, right?
Sure, sure is.
We love this building so much though, and
you're not going to stay in this?
No,
area?
we are, but we get 3 locations.
Oh, you're going to do another location?
Yes,
cool.
Yeah.
In Albany?
Right outside Albany,
cool.
Where there's a lot of traffic.
Smart.
Yeah, I'm not going to divulge it yet, but we're already in. I already have an offer. It's been accepted. We've done an inspection.
I work for you, brother.
Yeah,
We're ready
super
to bring
excited
our
about it. It's a really great. It's a really great location. It's really a great look. Not in too much competition with ourselves, but also close enough so that we're not stretched too thin. Trying to be really strategic about it.
And stuff.
Yeah. So,
fantastic.
and also, we have to wait for OCM to say we can have a second location, but it's inevitable. We can have 3. So
that's smart of you to go for it already.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we need to position ourselves. So that's what I was talking about in terms of being like. I don't even remember. We've been sitting here talking. I don't even know if this part was on camera, but I'm going to talk about it like it was. We were talking about just trying to, stay relevant, stay where we are. We got lucky. We're in the market. We're one of the only ones in the market in this area. There's 2 million people here. There's 2 dispensaries, right? So we're very lucky to be in that position this early. But how do we maintain our position in a way that keeps people wanting to come back and be a part of what we're doing? And I think having those having the right product lines, obviously, and having some cool things going on upstairs, doing festivals, with partners and making all that work is, that a good start. But also kind of having a stranglehold on the region with multiple stores.
Loyalty and relationships.
There's a culture that's waiting in the wings to happen, not just in New York, but in cannabis in general. I got really excited in Colorado because we've been fighting. We have no consumption in Colorado. We sold $5 billion worth of weed. You can't smoke a joint anywhere in Colorado unless you have a VRBO and you have the shades down, no one can see you from the street, and you have permission from the landlord of the VRBO. Obviously, it's bullshit. We've sold $5 billion worth of weed. People are lighting up everywhere.
Right.
But by the law, there's nowhere to safely consume. So the culture's been a little bit behind. Our dispensaries look like the size of this table, you know, when they're small, it's quick, you know, it's just transactions. There's no vibe, no culture, like no one's doing anything after to go meet up at a bar. And that's still the way it is today. It sucks. New York, I always looked at, especially when New York had rec weed, you know, they immediately allowed people to smoke weed wherever they could smoke cigarettes. So of course, New York City is just a cloud of fucking weed smoke, right? But that was so good. Like I was smiling ear to ear when my friends, I have a lot of friends that still live in New York, and like they told me about how New York smells like a weed factory. And I was so excited because I was like, okay, the culture is going to be built here. New York is, you know, there's already chefs that are acclaimed chefs in New York. They cook weed dinners, and the vibe and the culture here is going to be
New York has always been about vibe and culture. And that's like New York is like, so being from the music world, I'm huge on like culture creation, and New York has been a hub of culture creation for the world for like, you know,
it's the ways and means. New York is the ways and means.
And you know, there's been a bunch of other, you know, great cultural centers, you know, Los Angeles and Atlanta and Houston, and you know, I don't know if I don't name every fucking city in the country, or am I gonna get chastised? You know what I mean? New Orleans, like, you know, but New York, you like, everybody comes back to New York, man. I said as soon as legal weed was happening in New York, that we're gonna make some of the best. Like, we're gonna grow some of the best weed, make some of the best products, and bring some of the best shit and best ideas and innovations to the cannabis culture, to the market. And it's just gonna happen. It's already happening. You can see it.
There's nothing like it happening organically.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. I mean, look at...
It's bringing people together in the right way. It's bringing, at a time when the world is really rough. You know, it's bringing all the cultures that are this cesspool of New York together, because people like to get high and have fun, and that's good. The world needs it, so it's good timing, New York. Who's not rooting for New York? You're real evil if you're not rooting for New York to win in the cannabis.
No, everybody was at MJ BizCon last week. Everybody was rooting for New York. They were all wanted to hear the stories, and they were all like, "Oh, you're one of the 27. Oh, tell me what's going on here." Like a million questions.
Like you said, this is historical, man.
It is
for sure. It's really cool.
It's like New York is a market, and then everybody wants to be in the New York market, right? So it's you know, you're from Colorado. Like, tell me, how important is it to like be in the New York market?
To me, it's everything at this moment. You know, we've been through hell and high water in Colorado, but like I said, I've been a passionate smoker for 25 years. Like, we don't have that developed culture in Colorado yet. New York has formed it overnight when they allowed people to consume on the streets next to cigarettes. And it's only going to evolve from here. Whether you're in art, you know, music, food, I mean, whatever your scene is, they all enjoy it with cannabis. And so I think naturally, organically, those types of programs will grow, and there'll be a lot more people coming out of the woodwork that trade in their wine for weed. You know,
and that's happening. You said that with your beverages.
Yeah, no, we sell a lot of beverages. I know
we are getting healthier society. We know alcohol gives us hangovers.
We're walking past the fulfillment room, and you saw like the cart full of beverages, and you're like, "You sell a lot of beverages?" Like,
we don't sell anything.
We do. We sell a lot of beverages. Like, people love the cannabis drinks. We have some really great partners that we're working with, and I mean, it's like, you know, and now with the nano emulsification, is like, it's fast acting, so it's like drinking a drink. It hits you like you're drinking a drink. It's just something different. Nobody's like, that's like new to a cannabis. It's like smoking a joint. You know, it's different than the old edible where you're like, it might kick in 2 hours.
It's a different pathway.
Exactly.
We came out with a product in Olio, a gummy that we worked with this company from Israel, and they figured out how they had a machine, kind of a vaccine machine that produced vaccines. Figured out a way to turn cannabinoids into like a protein powder. So it also had a fast acting, you know, threshold to it as well that went right into your blood. You know, the jury's still out a little bit on nanoemulsification. I will say in Europe it's illegal, and we don't know how they're going to necessarily start regulating nanoemulsification in the United States.
And what makes it? What's the reasoning behind?
They don't know how dangerous it is when you break particles down that little if you're combusting it. You know, or ingesting it. So, you know, I mean, it's being put in so they're not sure on that yet. In Europe, they have just different particle allowances for size. I mean, I'm not totally an expert on it, but obviously, you know, thinking of other equipment and sources as well, we have capabilities of doing it. It's something that in Colorado, it didn't really take off. I guess it probably required a large marketing budget to educate people like that because it came at the same time as the nano-emulsification. But we loved it. Heads that didn't like to eat gummies traditionally, I would eat the shit out of these gummies because they it hit you in a very sativa type way,
and it hits you quick. Yeah, a very sativa type way.
Right. Which is what you like. If you're in the weed business and you have terrible OCD and
you need the sativa.
You gotta move. You gotta
move. You can't be sitting on the couch. Man, I got too much to do.
Fucking crazy.
Got too much to do.
Well, dude, we'll get out of your hair
while I do it, though.
This was fucking awesome, dude. We'll get out of your hair. Thank you, dude.
Hey, man,
this is so cool being here. I didn't expect this. I've been traveling to New York since like 7 this morning. Started in Buffalo, been all over, and
it's
fun to end my day on this.
Yeah,
this is cool.
It's nice to have
Are you kidding? Dude, I'll do this anytime I'm in town.
Yeah, for sure.
This is fun.
Right?
I'll do this anytime I'm invited. Thank you. This is cool.
Hey, man.
That was fun.
You could definitely come back.
I just met this cat today too. We never met either.
We've been on the phone every day.
It's cool. Like,
Mike came in.
This is cool. Look at that. We're all we all met for. I mean, Steve and I have met before, but we met today. They met today.
We've been on Zoom calls every day. Now we're all together, and we're going to make
We have a long way
happen.
to go, and like, look, we want to. I think at the end of the day, from a business standpoint,
shout out Rap Deals. putting us on the network and making this happen for us. All right.
Thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime.
I love this. All right. I'll take you up on that. Steve's got the best stories, by the way, so we're going to tell some more. Definitely.
We got some real stories.
Yeah.
Reality is definitely stranger than fiction. Thank you. A lot of really good reality.
It's true.
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
thank you.
I be on that OG, fire by the OG, piling up the roaches, got me feeling rosy, higher than the northeast, my shit ain't got no seats, I be on the green like Mario and Yoshi. Mario and Yoshi.